Welcome to session 4 of the Healing Journey, level 3. Icebergs and elephants. Yes, icebergs and elephants. So today we're going to introduce a model of human experience that shows that there is more happening under the surface in any interaction between people. This model encourages people to go deeper than the surface and to follow the threads of feeling down into the icebergs of who we are. We describe the icebergs of others and how their criticism or defensiveness is coming from a place of their own woundedness. And then we move on to examine how we each have our own wounds that we defend and protect. But today we're going to start with just other people's. So this is a model designed to help us identify the wounds within us that are triggered in difficult interactions. And the message is that when we react rather than respond, it's more about our vulnerabilities than the actions of the other person. This is why it's so hard to follow the golden rule. The challenges? Well, we're getting into the thick of it now. Some people have particularly deep and sensitive wounds, and they're difficult to address in a large group. Some members may be very hard on themselves or very self-critical, which is also difficult to work on in a group. The next few weeks will focus on the way in which our wounds are activated, and this requires us to acknowledge those wounds and bring them into awareness. For participants who are depressed or who have experienced serious traumas in their lives, this work can be difficult but rewarding. It's helpful to know that an experienced therapist that you can refer participants to if they're depressed or traumatized. In Alistair's book, Bringing Spirituality into Your Healing Journey, chapter 6 is where we're at the moment. It's called Guilt, Self-Criticism, and Self-Acceptance. His work at this point was strongly influenced by A Course in Miracles, which understands resentments as being a projection of one's own guilt and self-judgment. That's the things that we dislike in others, we first dislike in ourselves, that things we don't like about others are only in ourselves. This is a leap for many members of the program, so we want to use the book as a reference, but we take a detour by offering this iceberg model, which helps to illustrate the underlying dynamics of resentment. And then we're going to move into projection in the next session, session 5. We're going to go there yet. We want to make sure that the iceberg model is working for people. And here you have it. It's an iceberg. And as with all icebergs, most of the iceberg is beneath the surface. Now, I think we can thank Dr. Sigmund Freud for this particular model of understanding human behavior, that there we see the surface behavior, but beneath that are a whole lot of dynamics that are creating the behavior. Deep within us, there's a world of thoughts and feelings, experiences, memories, beliefs, and values, likes, dislikes, fears, pain, and shame. We're all like large icebergs. Often in relationships, we think we're only dealing tip to tip, when in fact, all this other activity is going on. Inside each of us is a unique combination of thoughts and feelings that are derived from our experiences and our history. And this material is played out in our relationships. We are like icebergs. So we're going to use this metaphor. On the surface at the top of the iceberg, we're going to ask everybody to list the behavior of the person on the top, the things you can see, the things that they're doing. Then on the board, we're going to draw the rest of that iceberg and ask them what might be driving that behavior. And so we begin to sort of have an X-ray, a picture of what might really be going on with somebody. With experience, the group become quite skilled with this. And in fact, people tell me that they go to coffee shops and they draw icebergs on paper napkins because it's become part of how they understand the world. And so in this slide, we see the iceberg that we're going to be using in our work together. I draw this on the flip chart and we fill it out. So what we have is part of the iceberg that you see on the surface. And this is the behavior that people have. These are the things that we can confirm. They're objective. We can see them. Underneath the surface, however, are all the things that we don't see, but that we can use our humanity to try to understand. Let's see how that would work. At the top is the behavior. I like to use thoughts and feelings just beneath the surface of the iceberg. Those are the things that they are aware of. Then beneath that is sort of the pre-conscious level. That's a fancy word. Don't have to use it necessarily, but what it means are things that I'm kind of aware of, but I'm not really aware of. And then deep down at the bottom are the unconscious things. By definition, unconscious. We don't know they're there. Those are the primal wounds. Those are the big wounds. Those are the feelings of shame, feelings of being unlovable. We all carry those in us. That's part of the human state. No child is ever raised having all needs met absolutely on time. Every child will sustain wounds through the school system, through friends, through bullying. It's part of our humanity that we share. And while those wounds may create difficulties in relationships when they're projected out, they are also in many ways a seat of compassion. Because I've been wounded, I know what it feels like. I know how you feel. So this is going to be the model that we come back to again and again for this session, the next session, and even. So there's our iceberg. Let's see what we can do with it. I ask the group about this particular scenario because generally speaking, everybody's been there. Anybody who's coped with cancer or been a caregiver. I refer to it as missing in action. It's the friend who doesn't show up. So I asked the group, how many of you felt disappointed by some of the people in your life who you thought would step up and support you when you were diagnosed with cancer, but they didn't? Were there people who seemed to disappear when you needed them most? And you can almost hear the energy in the room rising as they connect with those feelings, because in any given cancer story, there's going to be somebody who's missing in action. So we draw that iceberg on the flip chart. We ask them to fill it in. Let's stay at the top of that iceberg. Let's write down on that iceberg all the things that you see that we can all agree on. Well, sometimes we don't see anything but their absence. When we do talk with them, they may minimize our experience. They make promises, but they don't come through. Or false reassurances, it's going to be fine. Or they just avoid you, or they pretend like nothing is happening. This can actually be a very rich discussion because people will show you aspects of this behavior that you may not have thought of. So everybody gets an opportunity to put something up there that reflects their experience. These are really exciting, dynamic conversations. Okay, now we want to go beneath the surface of the iceberg. What do you think they're thinking? What do you think this person who is missing in action, what do you think they're thinking? Oh no, it's cancer. I don't know what to say. I don't want to make it worse. I don't have time to help. There's nothing I can do. What is she expecting me? I hate sickness. I don't want my friend to go. More thoughts, lots of thoughts from the group. These are just examples. A little deeper, feelings. Now these are deeper thoughts and feelings a person may not be quite aware of. Now remember, not many people are practicing thought watching. Thought watchers are going to be more aware of this than people who don't watch their thoughts. Scared, I don't know what to do or how to help. Angry, I'm being asked or expected to make things better. Remembering that anger is often a cover-up for vulnerability. I'm scared. I'm scared of what this is going to be like for my friend. This is overwhelming. Okay, we can go deeper than that. These thoughts and feelings are just beneath the surface, may be accessible to the person, but we're going to draw a dotted line across the iceberg now. We're going to go down deeper where people may not be aware that this is what's activated in their iceberg. I feel inadequate. This reminds me of my loved one who had cancer and it was really hard. I'm scared my friend isn't going to get better. I'm scared my friend's going to die. They may not be able to reach in and pull that into their awareness, but we use our humanity to understand that that's what's going on. And we're good thought watchers. We've been doing a lot of this work through the 3 levels. And at the very bottom, we draw a solid line because this is the stuff that's not accessible to normal thinking. Way down deep is a solid line that indicates the unconscious. This material is so threatening, it's pushed down deep. It's not accessible to the conscious mind except through dreams and psychotherapy. What might be down there? Vulnerability, fear, big time, fear of dying, fear of death, of mortality. People really appreciate this conversation because many of them have been confused and hurt by friends that are missing in action. This is an example of what an iceberg on the flip chart might look like. The surface stuff you'll recognize, pretending nothing is happening, false reassurance. I like to put thoughts and feelings down the side and then fill it in. There's that dotted line, which is that level that I may be conscious of, but maybe not so conscious of, probably not so conscious of. And then way down at the bottom is the fear that is suppressed, repressed, unconscious, can't get into it, wouldn't even acknowledge it if it's a gee, you must be really scared. You'd probably say, no, I'm irritated. Nothing to do. I don't have time to help. I think this is a very healing conversation for many people. We can do this iceberg with just about anything that you have in mind. Here's the bully. The bully is a good one. I've been trying to avoid conversations around Trump. Let's do Trump's iceberg. Oh, let's do a bully's iceberg. That's a little more general. What do we see on the behavior? What do we see on the surface of this iceberg? Aggression, rudeness, intimidating, hostile, powerful, scary, intimidating. And the group's going to give you lots of ideas. You don't have to come up with it. Let the group describe it. What do we see beneath the surface? What are the thoughts that this bully might be harboring? These people are unworthy. I can push them over. I'm better than they are. I can be the leader and set the tone. I'm strong. I'm powerful. No one's going to push me around. I deserve to be respected. I'm a winner. I'm a loser. Look how strong I am. Yes. Anger. Feelings, lots of anger. Arrogance. Now, as soon as we put anger on the board, we're all beginning to think, what's the wound of the angry bear? What's the wound of this bear is dangerous? What's going on? Even deeper, what's driving that anger? People can't be trusted. I've been hurt by others, so I have to hurt them first in order to be safe. This is how you get what you need in life. I am a wounded bear. Deeper still. Now this is right down underneath that double line, or the dotted line. I'm not a strong book. I've been hurt, really hurt. I've absorbed the message I'm not good enough. I have to hide my wounds or people will hurt me more. I am weak and inadequate. I'm ashamed. And at the unconscious level, deep down there, I'm a loser. I'm despicable. I'm unlovable. They feel unloved and even worse, unlovable. They are actually a very sad and wounded person who acts out their impotent anger and rage at the world to hide and protect those wounds. They have likely felt unloved, uncared for, and pushed around. And so to hide these feelings of shame and inadequacy, they attack others. And interestingly, the target of the bully is often someone who reminds them of themselves, those who are different or vulnerable, people they see as vulnerable, like herself deep down. So the bully has this behavior as an armor that protects this place of deep-seated pain. Looks kind of like this. Usually a lot more dramatic. People, this is rather a tidy one. I'm very fond of a messy flip chart. A messy flip chart suggests a lot of good thinking, a lot of engagement. Sometimes it's fun to use different colors. Yeah, this is dynamic stuff and fun to do. And people will come up with other ideas too. I like to do the bully because most of us have met a bully, but you can say, whose iceberg would you like to do? Is there another iceberg out there? Then we suggest that there's not just one iceberg in this picture, there are going to be two. In next session, we're going to talk about two specifically. We've been concentrating on exploring the icebergs of other people, and now we want to look at how our own icebergs are activated. We too have wounded places deep inside of us, and through the process of growing up, there are moments when we feel isolated, inadequate, abandoned, helpless, unloved, unlovable. Even children raised in the most loving of homes will have moments when their needs are unmet and they feel helpless. Think of the baby crying in the crib when mommy doesn't hear or daddy doesn't close at hand, or they're busy and baby has to cry. We want to talk a little bit here about the difference between guilt and shame. And so I ask people, what do you understand those to be? We're always sussing out the group. The more they can tell us, the better. The less we talk. But what we're trying to do is encourage them to use their thinking. How do you understand? Guilt is feeling badly about what we did, and shame is feeling bad about who we are. Guilt can be discernment. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. That was not good. I feel guilty about it. Shame is, I'm a rat. I'm a slug. I shouldn't have done that. I'm a bad person. The difference is the separation between the act and the person. Does it sound familiar? We kind of did this last week in the homework. We all have places of shame within us, which we strive to protect and hide from the world, as if we were the only ones who felt this way. Because of these places of pain that are so uncomfortable, we cover them up and hide them, or we give them away. That is, we project them onto other people, and that's what we're going to look at next week. So we want people to really think about the difference between guilt and shame. We come back to our friend the elephant. Remember the story of the elephant? To carve away all that is not elephant is the process of spiritual growth. The story is in the manual, so you'll see it there. When we cover up our wounds with armor plating or defenses, we are hiding the true nature of ourselves. We are covering up the elephant. When we peel away the rock we've become encased in, frozen in, we find out who we really are, the original goodness of ourselves. That's a term from Eknathaswaran, and ideas that are offered to us by lots of spiritual teachers. By gently exploring these places of vulnerability, by peeling away the old worn-out bandages of defense, we can let these wounds heal in the light. We can also relate to the wounded places in others. We're not the only one. This is about compassion for ourselves, for others. It's meeting ourselves and others in the fullness of our humanity, appreciating that life is not about perfection. It's a process. This is the homework. We carry around a list of grievances or condemnations that we hold against ourselves, moments in life when we have felt unskillful or inadequate. Some of these thoughts have been given to us by others who have used judgments as a way to control or shape our behavior, parents and teachers. List any areas in your life which you feel or have felt inadequate, incompetent, or where you have felt like a failure or incomplete in some ways. This is pain. It's painful but important. We absorb that critical voice of others and we internalize it. We can be our harshest critic. List anything you do or can remember having done about which you experience guilt, self-condemnation, self-hatred, or judgment. You can write it in private. You can keep it secret. You can write it in code. Can you sense this guilt as an attack on yourself? How does it feel in your body? Now, this is the most important step. Look at the list, reading through it slowly. Tell yourself that all this is in the past, that these things all had a reason. They were errors and peculiarities for which you now forgive yourself completely, and that they are already forgiven by the divine. Remember yourself, that every human being makes mistakes, and that in fact, that's how we learn. Affirm that in thinking that about yourself in your past, you will choose only love. See yourself surrounded by light as you do. Imagine this light as God's presence all around and within you. If you like, make a copy of the list that you can burn while practicing self-forgiveness. Write about any shift in feeling that might accompany this process. Forgiving yourself, see yourself in the light and see a religious figure, perhaps a religious figure, or your inner healer embracing you. Imagine as you do this, you're giving up the habit of constantly wanting things to be different. Or bring your inner mentor to mind, have a conversation with them. What would they say to you? Or the inner healer. I remember having many conversations with my inner healer to connect that compassion part of you, that you can bring healing to these internal wounds. Now, how do you feel about yourself? Has the judgment and guilt abated? Is it easier to accept yourself? Is this a passive give or an active healing? Does it bring peace of mind? And drawing up icebergs. Draw up as many icebergs as you need to. Go a little deeper. This is how you do it. Go to the thoughts and feelings and beliefs. The thoughts, there's the behavior, then there are thoughts beneath the surface, then go deeper and deeper, right down to the level of the woundedness. Does this shift your feelings about this person? So there we are. That's our material for sessions 1, 2, 3, and 4 of level 3. I hope that it's clear. It's all written in the manual in more detail. You can take your time with it, and you can go back and look at the material that you're filming here. So I look forward to session 5, the next one, double icebergs, and then we move our energy as we begin to talk about love and specialness. Thanks very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Bye-bye.